There's a new battlefield emerging in the Ukraine war after reports emerged on Russia's new electronic warfare. Ukraine claims to strike down this tactical military target in Russia's Krasnodar region, which reportedly made many of the high-tech weapon systems provided by the US futile due to its jamming capabilities. Now, Ukraine claims that its drone strikes targeted the long-range early warning radar system in Russia's southern city of Armavir. The radar facility provided Moscow with long-distance monitoring of its airspace against ballistic missiles. Now, according to a report, Russia has 10 more systems of this type operating on different frequencies in different parts of the country. The claims made by Ukraine come as NATO countries bordering Russia have agreed to create a drone wall to defend their borders from provocations amidst escalation in Russian strikes and its troops making gains in Ukraine. Now, according to reports, the 6 countries that will set up a drone wall and join the initiative to protect their borders are the 3 Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia, as well as Poland, Finland and Norway. According to Lithuania's interior minister, the proposed wall will be built with complex and highly complicated technology with surveillance systems, drones and other technologies. She added that the plan is still in its formative stages and there is no concrete timeline when it will be implemented. And for more on this, we are being joined by Glenn Deason, who's a professor of international relations at the University of Southeastern Norway, joining us live from Oslo. Glenn, pleasure to have you here. Always nice to speak with you. Have we just seen a new escalation in the war, which seemed to be going all in Russia's favor in the recent months?
Yes, this is a huge escalation. And this has always been the path we're going towards, because the Ukrainian army, as we now seen over the past few weeks, has begun its slow collapse. And the dilemma for NATO is obviously, does it escalate or start negotiations? And this is truly an amazing escalation, because this strike against Russia's Armavir radar station. It's, as you mentioned, this is part of Russia's nuclear early warning system to warn Russia if NATO launches a nuclear first strike. So what we see now is Russia is already in the middle of a tactical nuclear weapons exercise, and it's not unreasonable to expect that Russia will now place its nuclear armed forces on high alert. Furthermore, there's an immense pressure building now on Russia to actually begin to retaliate against NATO at some point, because I think the wider context is quite important. We see now that Anthony Blinken in the United States has green-lighted the use of long-range American ATACMS missiles against Russian territory, its pre-war territory. This is in addition to that fact that the Americans are already providing the intelligence and assisting with target selections. So it's also very likely that US advisors assists with these complex weapon systems, as we've heard in certain leaks already. Now, we already had proxy wars in the past where each side target each other's soldiers through a proxy. But this is very different. This kind of direct attacks on the territory of another nuclear power is something we've never seen before. This is the United States actively and directly assisting in attacking Russian territory, and also going now after its strategic nuclear defenses. So I think furthermore, we have to see that the NATO Secretary General, Jens Stoltenberg, he also calls now for using NATO long-range weapons to strike inside Russian territory.
Yes.
This is as close as one can get to declaring war, in my opinion, so without actually stating it. So this is extremely, extremely dangerous.
Glenn, the real faces are gradually emerging from behind those proxies that we had seen till now. Now, the alleged strikes in Armavir is deep inside Russian territory. These strikes have come shortly after Russia released visuals of its tactical nuclear drills in the same southern military district from where they are being carried out. Now, should Russia have prepared for such strikes? Because there were statements which had, though I would consider them hints, which came from David Cameron when he said it's up to Ukraine to use those Storm Shadow missiles to target Russia. And then Blinken suggested something similar in the recent past as well, indicating that Ukraine can target inside Russia with Western missiles that they have. Do you feel Russia should have anticipated something? And do you think they were prepared for a strike so far deep inside Russian territory? How do you feel they're going to respond?
Well, obviously they were prepared to some extent, given these threats by the British and the Americans to attack Russian territory. But and there's also a clear indication that a lot of these missiles which have been sent have been intercepted. So these American and British missiles, the Russians use electronic warfare to disrupt their signals. They also have intercepted missiles to strike some, but some things gets through every now and then. And it's worth noting that already in the past there's been attacks on Russian military bases deep inside Russian territory, key strategic bases such as Engels military base, where they're hosting nuclear weapons, which are likely the ones to be used in a retaliatory strike if the US and the British use nuclear weapons against Russia. So it's very hard again to overstate how significant this escalation is on the side of NATO. That again, this is very much unprecedented. And this is why one can also argue that the world has never really been any closer than this to nuclear war before. At least during the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was an interest in both sides to de-escalate. This time, there's not even diplomacy. And frankly, there are many sides now who are openly calling for a direct war. This is extremely alarming.
Yes. Proxies have subsided, calls for war have become more vocal than ever before, and the real faces are kind of coming in front. There is no sign of diplomacy. There is clearly, as you mentioned, it's an amazing escalation. Thank you so much for joining in. That was Glenn Deason joining us from Oslo. Always a pleasure having you on the show, sir.